Oh. Now let her have it. You're going to have to let some of that out. That's too much. That's too much. You're going to get caught. Okay. You better. You got to be quicker than that. The moment you walk. Round 2. She is not playing. None to lose.
Wow. You know, society is definitely decaying when the criminals don't even have to be smart anymore. And probably with the police time, she could probably even fill that bag up even more there. This says, I think it's fair to say California has definitely seen better days. And what did you expect from one of the highest taxed places in the world? Welcome back. Beautiful and amazing human beings. My name's Luke Rudowski here of wearechange.org, and we have an extremely bodacious amount of news to get into today, as it definitely seems like things are pretty weird, pretty crazy, especially with the unraveling that's happening in our society recently, with a lot of the official narratives shattering, just like wines in many stores from crazy people. There's never not an overabundance of just crazy videos to show you, and we're going to be talking about this unraveling, plus a lot more, all here on this independent media broadcast. If you like the shirt that I'm wearing, you can get it on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, and the clip we played in the beginning of this broadcast was shared originally on TikTok by Contry Boy 76, highlighting his very casual interaction with crackhead Carol there. This, as we still have to remember that some of the biggest criminals and thieves out there are in Washington, D.C. This, as it looks like a lot of the Democrats are being caught in obfuscating, manipulating, and not telling the full truth about the events that happened on January 6th. That, of course, was their convenient go-to talking point for the last few years. This as the major attacks on Tucker Carlson, one of America's biggest news anchors who showed us videotapes and footage of inside the Capitol on that day, is still being very heavily criticized for doing so. This as Karine Jean-Pierre, a lady who is known for her preferences and physical attributes, just came out with an official statement from the White House regarding Tucker Carlson, calling him not credible and, quote, shameful for showing the American people footage of a different perspective of what happened on January 6th. Now, again, January 6th, very complicated event. Lots of things happened. Violence did happen. People were fighting with police officers. Pretty clear that that happened. But there's also another side of the story of police officers letting people in, waving them in, protesters like the horned shaman praying for them, being walked around, escorted around, almost as if they were on a sightseeing tour. This, as I think it's fair to say, that there has been a well-orchestrated and coordinated attack against Tucker Carlson for daring to show video footage to the general public. As in my opinion, I think the majority of Americans are like, he didn't do anything crazy or bad. Why are they all attacking him now? Why are they so angry at him? Oh yes, he exposed an official story and an official narrative that very powerful people did not want exposed. And let's be honest here, a lot of these attacks on Tucker seem very desperate, unwarranted in some instances, utterly pathetic in some, and it highlights an establishment and its narrative being shattered as they become ever so increasingly desperate in order to keep a lie going. This as we're also finding out that the footage released by Tucker Carlson could soon be used in court, as already there was a motion filed in one of the January 6 cases because of the revelations of this video footage that soon could potentially have a lot of people's charges dismissed, mainly because a lot of this footage has been being kept away from the criminal defendants by the government who is holding it from them. This as the lawyer for the horned shaman just came out and confirmed that the video footage of the horned shaman man being walked around, escorted, and praying with Capitol Police officers was not presented them in court. Now, why would the federal government deny evidence that they had that could have exonerated people that they were prosecuting in a court of law? Oh yeah, it's political prosecution rather than, of course, actually following the law. And again, there were some bad people on January 6th that should be punished for doing bad things when there's actual evidence of them doing bad things. And even though this horned shaman was a great visual for the corporate media and the establishment to keep regurgitating, showing to everyone, and highlighting it every chance they got, let's be honest here, after looking at the footage here, you're kind of wondering to yourself, is this worth 3.5 years in prison? As of course, this man pled guilty after facing a huge amount of charges, pleading down, as many prosecutors in this case used overwhelming amount of charges as an attempt in order to pressure people they were prosecuting to, of course, plead down and plead guilty to lower charges and not face decades in jail. All of this as known individuals like Ray Epps, who of course escalated tensions, clearly were acting like some kind of agent provocateurs, still have not been charged yet, with a lot of people asking why? And again, there's many questions here. It's finally being unraveled. Will the legal system actually respond to any of this and make some legal decisions here? Well, only time will tell, and it will be interesting to see. This, as the U.S. Attorney General is still claiming that somehow 5 officers died on that day, which is just, again, a straight up lie. And this is not the only story to be optimistic about, as of course there's major moves being made by DeSantis, Joe Rogan and the culture war, and the unraveling of course, Dr. Fauci's career. We're going to be talking about that in just a little bit, but before we do, we wanted to remind you about Luke, Uncensored.com, our own website where we get to say and do whatever we want, and we take full advantage of that. As the last 2 videos I did, I'm really proud of. I did one specifically about the diet that I have, what I eat, what I consume, what I look for, what I look out for to make sure I'm not consuming. Took you through my day, took you what I've been eating, some of my habits in one video. In yesterday's video, I specifically did a larger statistical analysis on why people aren't getting laid and how we could try to fix that. Those videos, plus a lot more, as well as a new video ready for you later on today, will be available on, of course, only LukeUnfiltered.com. If you haven't signed up yet, what are you waiting for? It's very easy. It's very quick. You click here, you put in your information, you get an email, you log in right away, and then you get access to a huge plethora amount of offers that we give you. Masterclasses, conversations, in real life meetups. We're going to be doing one in Miami very soon, only for members. You got any problems, which you shouldn't, but just in case you do, if you're a boomer and you've been punching the keyboard and you need something fixed, you can email our amazing Dave at wearechange.org that helps us do all of this stuff behind the scenes. I got a great team that I'm working with, and we're working on providing you the best amount of value that we can. We just released a new members-only t-shirt as well. All of that, plus a lot more, available to you by just clicking the link down in the description below. Click it right now, sign up, and I will see you there right after this video. As of course, we're not done talking about all the important news that we should definitely be optimistic about, as of course, there's a lot of it, and when it does happen, we need to talk about it more than just the negative stuff. This, as Joe Rogan has just officially opened his canceled-proof comedy mothership, essentially, just a comedy club in Austin, Texas, specifically made for comedians who, quote, don't have to worry about being canceled. This, as many high-profile comedians have gotten into hot water for daring to try to make people laugh. Yes, we're living in such an absurd culture where there's so many bureaucratic Karen bees out there that they are angry at someone trying to make them laugh. And of course, comedy has been one of the main areas of attack by the establishment. Individuals like Chappelle, individuals like Rogan, all have dealt with significant pressure from, of course, the corporate media that tries to cancel them for trying to bring some humor to this world. Another individual doing something very notable that deserves our attention is the governor of Florida that just announced that he will probably be getting a boat from the Bahamas to get the #1 tennis star in the world, Novak Djokovic, to the Miami Open. Why can't Novak Djokovic come to the United States? Well, the federal government is still prolonging a mandate for a rushed experimental gene therapy that, of course, people are forced and manipulated to have if they want to enter the United States as non-U.S. citizens. This is something that has been prolonged for a very long time. It makes absolutely no sense at all. I think we're one of the few countries in the world doing this, as of course a lot of countries have abandoned this ridiculous policy that absolutely makes no sense at all. And when we have governors like Ron DeSantis saying he'll personally get a boat and go through a port of entry in Florida to specifically make sure that people will not have to be extorted and manipulated by the federal government that's working pretty much as PR for Big Pharma. That right there is showing innovation, but also solidarity with a lot of individuals that stood on principles. And it's a courageous move made by DeSantis, who has been very strong on this specific issue when his Republican counterparts are still telling people to get the shot themselves. Now, I know he's been hanging out with Jeb Bush, but still, I think this deserves our attention, and I think this policy needs to end immediately. And another individual standing their ground and actually doing something that is absolutely important for the American people is, I can't believe I'm saying this, a former government official, the former CDC director, Robert Redfield, that right now in the making of this video is testifying to Congress and specifically unraveling the official story that we've been told within the last few years, officially on the record as the former head of the CDC declaring that the sickness within the last 3 years most likely was created through gain-of-function research work that was funded and directed directly by Dr. Fauci and NIAID. Dr. Redfield was specifically asked if he thought Dr. Fauci intentionally lied under oath, which is a violation of the law, to the U.S. Senate, which Redfield said essentially that he did. This was a specific question about if gain-of-function work was being conducted by Dr. Fauci. Fauci said, no gain-of-function. And Redfield said, yes, there was no doubt that there was gain-of-function work being done at, of course, the Wuhan level of virology that was financed by U.S. taxpayers doing, of course, a lot of this illicit work under the Trump administration. Very interestingly, Barack Obama, the former president of the United States, under his administration temporarily stopped gain-of-function work because it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely reckless. A lot of people have been calling it what it essentially is, the weaponization of germs and viruses, essentially creating something like bioweapons, which according to some analysts could be way more dangerous than even nuclear weapons. And working on this unknown weaponization and genetic structure of very horrible viruses that could wipe out the entire planet is something that, of course, we shouldn't be doing. And that's an argument that even Barack Obama made. But on December of 2016, right before Donald Trump came into office, as the transition team was already being put in place there, as there was already Trump officials inside of the White House, the Barack Obama administration lifted their ban of gain-of-function research, and then the practice continued ever so recklessly, which now, according to one of the biggest government officials in this particular field, was the thing that caused the spread of the global sickness for the last 3 years. Specifically saying that this gain-of-function research probably caused the greatest pandemic in history. And the crazy thing is, we're still continuing to do gain-of-function research. There's still major institutions, government-connected agencies, Bill Gates-funded operations that are weaponizing and making viruses as deadly as possible. Why would the government be doing that with your own tax dollars? Why was he behind an effort to cover it all up from the very beginning? Why was big tech social media censoring people for saying what the CDC director, the former CDC director, is saying today? Why did he lie to Congress about this? Well, that's a question that a lot of American people will be having right now that I think definitely deserves to be answered. And this larger lie, I don't see anyone other than Tedros of the World Health Organization, who of course probably is being duressed by China to do so, saying otherwise. So yeah, this larger unraveling of this story and many other stories and so many victories, especially in the culture war, especially with comedy, becoming more bulletproof, becoming more uncensorable, becoming more resilient, is, I think, positive news that we should, of course, remember, celebrate, and of course, take a moment to appreciate. And if you agree with that, share this video with your friends and family members. It is more imperative than ever. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys actively watching and sharing these videos. That's why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org. One more video coming your way right now on LukeUncensored.com. See you there.